I'm angry today. The United States has given away upwards of $100 billion this year, 2024, to interests that don't really have anything to do with our day to day well being. Yet, when our people start suffering and literally dying of starvation, of lack of water, of lack of resources, our government says, sorry, we're out of money. Really? Really? You're out of money, are you? Those are my people. What are you doing? You have Americans dying. Hey, Joe, get off the beach. Which is an interesting segue into the bigger issue I want to, well, not the bigger issue, but the next issue I want to talk about today, which is our own financial survival, because we are living in a society that is obviously indifferent to its people. So we have to figure out how to make it in this world. We're in a transitional phase. I think for the moment we just kind of have to survive because I honestly think the old economy is kind of fading away. It'll never just go away because the economy is us trading value amongst ourselves, and that's always going to happen. But the old means of distribution are probably going to change very radically in the not too distant future. Our goal, our task, our objective is to make it from this side of the wall to the other side of the wall. And as you can see from events, they're perfectly willing to let the bridge wash out. They're not going to replace it. So we kind of have to build the bridge between today and tomorrow. And that's what this whole discussion is about. That's what this whole channel is about, really. Is how do we bridge where we are to where we want to be, knowing that there's not a lot of help out there in the big world. How do we do that? The economy is in massive transition. The things that used to work don't really work. We've got to be creative. We've got to figure out ways to make this work. Now, there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, and it's, believe me, it's legitimate. And I don't want to really join that chorus because there's plenty of it already. We know that. What do we do about it? That's really the question. What do we do about it? And let's do this together. I don't have the answer right this minute. I have some ideas, but I don't have answers. Let's come up with answers. Let's work together and figure out how we do this. What is it that we need to know to move forward? The things that I can vouch for are we need to control expenses, which is basically a spiritual process of controlling desires. We need to cut back on what we bring in, and we need to figure out how to utilize what we already have. And by what we already have, I'm talking about certainly the knowledge that we've collected over the decades, but also the things that we've collected over the decades. We need to work with community. We need to work with each other, both physically, like in our locations, and also through outreach. We can talk to people who we would never normally come across. So I myself am in a situation that I'm sure many of you out there are, for reasons that there's no reason to discuss, but a lot has happened in my life, and I love my life, and I wouldn't change anything at all. But I got to this stage of my life with little more than the Social Security pension that they have so generously given back to me after taking it for 40 years. So thank you for that. But that's what I have, and that's what I'm living on. And it's not that easy. So what we have to figure out together, and first off, I'm not a financial advisor. I have to say this because that's the way of the world. The people who are indifferent to you think they are the only ones that can give you financial advice. So I'm not advising you. You and you alone are responsible for your financial choices. This is more like a conversation we would have over coffee, in the mornings or something like that. That said, I have an MBA from a school, a top 20 business school, back in the 20th century, that was. But I have also decades of experience in corporate finance. I've made a lot of money in my time. I just spent a lot of money in my time, and a lot has happened. So we find ourselves at this point with not a whole lot. So we're trying to figure it out just like everybody else, and that's all cool. That's what it is. But the simple fact is, you and I have to figure out how to make it in a world that's at best indifferent to us, and possibly even hostile to us. So what do we do? How are we going to do this? That's what we kind of want to talk about today. And it's all in the context of what's going on in Western North Carolina. I grew up in a town called Brevard, up in the mountain near Brevard, in the mountains of North Carolina. I grew up back and forth between the Florida beaches and the Carolina mountains. But these are my people. I know these people well, and I know that they're good-hearted, loving, concerned people. And what's going on up there is appalling. This conversation isn't from the typical perspective of financial advisors and what to do with your savings and all that. This is about survival. This is about how we're going to make it in an increasingly hostile, indifferent world. I think we all have, many of us at least, have the same issue. I know I decided to kind of let go of the big world at age 67, and it was right at the confluence of some crazy events. Inflation went wild, and suddenly I found out that the little bit of money that I had to work with really wasn't enough to do anything at all with. So I'm out here fighting for survival just like you are. I mean, I'm negotiating the rent, the electric. I mean, I got rid of my car. I mean, it's tough. It's tough out here, and it's tough for all of us. And instead of talking about rental properties and all that, which is great if you can, if you've got them, use them. If you've got passive income, use it by all means. But this isn't about that. This is about how we keep our dignity, our positive attitude, our sanity in a world that kind of doesn't like us that much anymore. So what do we do? At its core, financial freedom, which is what we're really aiming for. We all want freedom in various ways, but financial freedom is spiritual freedom. Financial freedom is basically our journey from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. I know it sounds like it's easily said, but it's really core to this whole thing. I mean, we've got to get out of the notion of scarcity and lack. We have to get out of the notion that we're beholden to somebody else. And I know, particularly, I'm 68. Luckily for myself, I'm pretty healthy. I'm pretty active, and I've managed over time to keep up with myself pretty well. And I'm not suggesting that others who have physical problems haven't done that, but I know a lot of people have physical problems that I don't have, and it makes it that much harder to do the things that we need to do. Somehow we got to figure this out. We got to fight through this, because it's pretty clear to me that the pensions that we're on are not going to make it in the future unless something radical changes. Will it change? I don't know. Maybe. I hope so. But I don't think we can count on that. I think we have to kind of fall back on ourselves, see what we can do on our own steam to create positive outcomes for ourselves. There are people who are literally indifferent to us. There are people who literally would like to see us go. I mean, they owe us the money they've taken over the years, and I don't think they like that very much, and I don't think they really want to do that. I think they would rather see us disappear. I think we're probably in this ourselves. Now, in that context, what do we do to make sure that we're okay? Cutting expenses is no longer just a spiritual effort to curb desire. It's become a physical reality. I have literally cut my expenses down to four things, which is the rent on this great little place out here, electric, gas, and phone and internet. And that's it. I've gotten rid of debt. I buy a little bit of food. That's about it. I don't travel anymore. I do a lot of things I just don't do. As I mentioned, it's a spiritual effort, because financial freedom is about spiritual freedom, and spiritual freedom is about financial freedom. But it's more than that. It's now a spiritual effort, and it's a physical necessity. Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to get clear with yourself about what you really need and what you really desire. And you got to make some spiritual effort to determine what portion of your desires are actually necessary. And that's a determination that you and you alone have to make. What is a requirement in your life? Obviously, health is the first requirement. If you don't have health, you don't have anything. If you're in need of meds, you've got to add the meds to it. At this point, I'm not on any meds, which is good because that keeps expenses way down. I know that meds are incredibly expensive. Examine your diet. Make sure that you're eating properly. One of the things I have done is completely eliminate from my diet sugar, flour, seed oils, and processed foods. Not quite totally, because if you go out to a restaurant or something, you can't help but get it. But in my house, where I do 99.9% of my meal prep, I use the simplest, most basic ingredients. I don't use a lot of supplements, like maybe ginseng products. I'll use some of that. I've tried ashwagandha a little bit. I mean, so some of the herbal stuff has specific things that it can help you with. Try to get what you need from your food. Try to keep your food as simple as possible. Eat, the basic vegetables, cruciferous type vegetables. I love carrots and onions and peppers, apples and oranges, but things like stay within that sort of thing. For those of us who are carnivorous, and that would include me, I eat white meat as much as I can. I don't shy away from red meat, but it's expensive these days. So I try to limit to 3 to 5 pounds of red meat per month. A couple of those at least are through hamburger, grass-fed ground beef. That's actually the next thing I would say here is when you are changing your diet like this, you've got to go with quality and not quantity. You've got to eat the right kinds of foods and keep it as simple as you can. I know we all love, we've been trained to love food, to accept food as, entertainment. Avoid it. Seed oils are not good. And we could do a whole piece on why seed oils are not good. You could look it up for yourself. Try to avoid, eliminate if at all possible, processed sugars, flour and flour products, seed oil and seed oil products, which include stuff like mayonnaise and salad dressings. And you gotta read carefully, because those kinds of oils are in everything. So anything that kind of comes to you processed, be careful of. And this is actually a financial option because it's about your health, and your health is one of the primary financial pieces. So you can control your health, at least to some extent, by controlling your diet. Does that mean scrolling back? Well, yeah, it does. It means staying out of restaurants. It means shopping carefully. It means probably, honestly, spending less on food than you do. It means dropping the Doritos, that kind of thing. I'm sorry, but that's just a fact. Begin to understand what it is that you really need, because we're coming into a situation, at least for the moment, at least for the close future, where desires are kind of out the window at the minute. We've just got to survive. Prep if you feel like you need to. I wouldn't personally. I don't stock up on stuff like tuna fish and all that. We'll figure something out. Get the food that you really need and maybe put it away. I've got a store of black beans and things like that, rice, stuff that we can live on if we really have to. But I don't think we need to devolve to that level. We just, the thing we want to do is bring our desires and particularly our diet back to the place where it probably should have been to start with. So a lot of this is just reducing or eliminating waste anyhow. But keep that in mind. Most of us have spent our lives, at least we're in the United States, and lived a good, solid, fun life. And we're used to things. We're used to having what we want. So the first huge change in our lives is that we have to kind of back down on what we want, do, and have. And it's not easy. There's an emotional turmoil that goes with that. I know that's true. We have to do it by whatever means we do that, whether we raise income or lower expenses. You've got to reduce debt. That's the next thing. We got to, in fact, eliminate debt if you can. I've been lucky enough to just be able to eliminate all other outside debt. If you're carrying credit cards, pay them off. Get rid of the debt. Get rid of the debt. Get rid of the debt. If you have any capacity to save anything, even if it's $10, $20, open up a Robinhood or Acorn type account. So anything that will let you collect money in small amounts, because that sends a message to the universe that you have an abundance mentality. And that's the next thing we have to do. It's sort of a dichotomy. How do we reduce our desires yet expand our abundant nature? How do we remain spiritual beings in the face of physical indifference? It's a challenge. It's an interesting challenge, and we're going to figure it out. You and I together, we're going to figure it out. The second thing is we all have some skills that we've brought from the past. Now, granted, some of them are not as useful today as they have been because, well, I can tell you from as a personal anecdote, AI is kind of eating into some of the things that we've all been doing. So if you've been in a white collar position, I realize that a lot of those things are not as useful as they once were. That said, we can still package a lot of our experience in ways that have some resonance out here. The gig economy is weird. The hustle culture is stupid. That's a young man's game. And even then, I don't know that hustle culture is anything you want to get involved in. You don't want 4 jobs. You don't want, yeah. That's not human. That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is use our collected knowledge in ways that still help us, because retirement isn't what they said it is. It's not. We're not retired in any sense of the word. We've transitioned from having a 9 to 5, 40-hour type job or being to something that's a little less active. And that's primarily because we're physically less active than we used to be. I'm 68. I'm not 38. I don't have the same level of energy as my kids, for instance, right? And that's the economy these days. It's not that it's youth based; it's that it's energy based. And the less energy that you bring to it, the less it's going to return to you. So we have to figure out how to kind of create voltage. We have to package our knowledge in a way that creates a bolt of energy out there. We want energy. The better we are at that, the better we're going to be in terms of surviving this economy. We want to barter. We want to work with each other. There are things that we can provide to each other that will get us down the road. For all of us, the idea is to simplify. We've just got to simplify at this point. We've got to cut our waste. We need to be using all the things that we have. We all have a lot of stuff around that probably haven't used over time. So take an evaluation of what you have that's around you. You might sell what you don't need or use it in other ways, whatever works. Develop skills that you haven't used in the past. Like if you're a gardener, find ways to garden, find ways to grow your own food, number one, which is a great idea. But also see if people around you can use some of the things that you have, either barter them or sell, whatever. So to summarize, let's change our approach. Let's become proactive. Let's reduce to the point that we can reduce. Let's figure out how to hunker down and survive until whatever is going to happen happens. And we can all feel that something's about to happen. We know that. I am the eternal optimist. I am certain that whatever happens, while it's going to be dark for a minute, it's going to break out into a brand new, sunnier day. We just have to survive. We talked a few minutes ago about building the bridge from today to tomorrow, knowing that there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest from the powers that be in helping us build that bridge. They're not interested in us anymore. So we've got to be interested in ourselves. And we do it by hunkering down at the moment, but keeping a positive attitude, staying on the path to a better tomorrow, and living our lives from a place of abundance, of joy, of righteous anger is fine. Be angry because they've given you reason to be angry. But don't allow that anger to cloud your ultimate joy. Stick with positivity and joy. It's your day. It's your moment. It's your life. We'll figure it out. Package the stuff that you have in ways that is useful going forward, And let's continue this conversation when I'm a little more level headed, not quite so angry about what they're doing to my people up in Western Carolina. Okay? But thanks for listening. I love you guys. Take care, and we'll be back.